Hi, this is Ray Evans with the Pegasus team at Infinitas Wealth Counsel. And February 16th this year, we celebrate President's Day. We used to celebrate February 12th, February 22nd, Washington and Lincoln's birthday. We combine them now, and I think it's important as we examine history to maybe take a second and think a little bit, in this case, about Abraham Lincoln and really what an unbelievable president he was and what unbelievable leadership he showed at an incredibly difficult time in our nation's history. So Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president of the United States, 1861 to 1865, and I think most people know that he led the country through the most difficult period probably in our history, which was during the Civil War. And really, he should be best remembered for ending slavery and preserving the Union. And it's pretty crazy when you consider his time before that, or his time growing up. He basically was born in a log cabin in Kentucky in 1809 and pretty much was self-taught and could read or wanted to read any kind of book that he could, whatever he could get his hands on. Ultimately became a lawyer, and he believed that the best way for himself to make a mark in the world was through politics. His one-loss record politically was not very good until he ended up becoming a state representative and senator and ultimately president of the United States. But his main objective as he became president in the early 1860s was to preserve the Union and keep the country together. So a reminder, his life ended in 1865. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation actually in 1863, 2 years before, which freed all enslaved people in the Confederate States, pretty much enraged the Confederate States at that time, pushed really hard for the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery in the United States. And I think most of us know a little bit about the Gettysburg Address, and in prepping for this, I didn't realize the Gettysburg Address was only 2 minutes long. It's actually an easy read. Part of the cool thing about Lincoln, and it's depicted in the book Team of Rivals by Doris Goodwin, is that he was very open to having people with differing opinions on his staff and in his cabinet. And that book actually details how three of his biggest rivals became key members of his policymaking crew in the early 1860s. Great movie by Spielberg on Lincoln. Encourage you to watch it when you get a chance. Key tenets for him were not only keeping the Union together, big believer in public education, big believer in improving roads, canals, and railroads, believing that the war would end and there'd be a massive need to help rebuild the South. He believed strongly that the best way to help people who perhaps were in poverty was through capitalism, giving them the opportunity to succeed. But his key ambition was tied to service for sure. The other maybe fun fact on Lincoln, he's the only president to hold a patent for a boat lifting device out of the water. Wouldn't necessarily think of a guy from Kentucky being able to pull that off. Tremendous life, and we are very fortunate that he was the leader of the country during the Civil War and had such a desire to keep the Union intact and to rebuild the South. If you'd like a copy of some of this material, ray.evans@pegasuskc.com. Happy President's Day, February 16th. Thank you very much.